Hi, it's Paulie here. Yeah, just having some thoughts about a delightful gamer from the 1970s period in Melbourne. He was a young British actor, a few years older than me. Did a lot of stage and commercials and these sorts of things. And we met at a War Games club, so he was part of the whole early D&D experience. He was in the first D&D games ever played. Our particular thing we'd play together a lot was Starguard, which is a beautiful science fiction miniatures system, still going today. Fantastic game. That was a particular thing, and he had a fixation for World War One naval. So yes, we'd play a lot of bashing the Bosch and hammering the Hun. And oh yes, of course, plane on a stick. The triplane rules, or some of their many variants available today. If you have a look on, I did some reviews here. 1/72 scale models on tall sticks and so on. Beautiful. I remember his character there was Flight Lieutenant Carrington Smythe. We played a campaign of this, and the idea was obviously being World War One. You've transferred over from some other regiment before you met the Flying Corps. So the vague rule was, well, you could take one cool thing with you from whatever corps you'd come from. So for some reason, I'm from the cavalry. I'm taking my sword in the cockpit with me. Oh yeah. I'm from like such and such. Yeah, I'm going to take a pistol. I'm going to take this and that. I just sort of said, oh, I've actually transferred across from the Aerial Observation Corps. Aerial Observation Corps? Yes, absolutely. Aerial Observation Corps. Balloons. I just thought I'd much rather have an engine on the front. Oh. Sure, absolutely. I can take one piece of equipment with me, yeah, and carry that in the cockpit with me. Yes, good. I'm now the only player character in the game with a parachute. But, see, even at 14. Peter would be an embarrassment to wander around with, because you'd usually pick him up going to gaming, but you have to pick him up from like rehearsals or something like that, and usually drop in to his place where he'd shuck on normal clothes, get makeup off and come on out. But I was having to pick him up one night, and he'd been playing Ebeneezer Scrooge in Christmas Carol. So he's got the cut off woolen gloves that have his fingers sticking out, and he's got the shabby scarf and dusty old coat, and fantastic makeup, all kind of lined and seamed, looked about 100 years old, and as if he was like, constantly possessed by a cough. And he said, oh, can we swing by his sister was in like a very toffee-nosed girls' school at the time. Oh, can we just swing past my sister's school just around the corner and give her a lift back to my place as well? Because she's got to go back there. Oh, okay, fine, all right. So we swerve in, and there's this sort of rather elegant sister and all her sort of friends in school uniform hanging around outside the gates of the school, waiting for various lifts home. So we pull up, and Peter winds the window down. Ebeneezer Scrooge is leading out. Says, oh, little girl, would you like to come for a ride in my car? And of course, people come racing over, like, oh, go away, you filthy old man. Oh my God, we're going to get killed. But she's my sister. She's rolling her eyes. Says, yes, it's my brother. Oh God, he would get fired from so many jobs by just not keeping his mouth shut. He always had to make the sarcastic remark because of the beautiful speaking voice and sort of very tall and elegant and presented. His hey, I'm an actor job was usually working in very toffee-nosed menswear stores. And I would sort of see him at a lunchtime sometimes and say hi, and then come round, then 2 days later he's sort of at the games club and it's like, oh, I got fired again. It's like, what was it this time? It's like, well, this woman comes in and she said, oh, look, you're about the same size as my son. I'd like to get this coat for him, but I'd just like to see what it kind of looks like on. Would you mind putting it on so I can just have a look? Says, oh, certainly, madam. And he put this thing on and said, yeah, one sleeve is like 6 inches longer than the other. So he's just standing there hunched and says, well, madam, the Quasimodo look is in this time of year. And then, look, to be honest, I really don't like this range very much. I think you might find better if you're here. And he directs them to another store, and the manager would hear and like, some woman came in to say, I want to organise a suit for my son to get married in. So, certainly, madam. Is it a formal affair? Is it sort of a beach affair? Is it a registry office? Is it casual? What sort of things were you thinking of? What sort of look? Oh, definitely the most formal possible tuxedos that we can. Oh, well, absolutely. Well, over here. Yes, but I don't really want to spend more than $100. Ah, yeah. It's just I see, Madam has decided to have her wedding in the realm of fantasy, and this just goes over so badly. Fired. Oh dear. But we played a beautiful game of, well, actually played many games of Star Empires. Star Empires was a game published by good old TSR, and it was the original game of Star Empires. You had a map that had 3D coordinates for lots of star systems on it. You have a star system which had, its own particular environment and so on, and you had all these different tech levels in different things, be it sort of small arms and small arm support and starships and sensors and all sorts of different things. You had a budget that you could use for making stuff, making regiments, making forts, making starships, research, and you could kind of, it was a lovely game because you could kind of narrow your research. So you could just try and, as you went up in tech, your armies, did more damage, did more stuff, but you could actually narrow on very specific things. And kind of, you found that sometimes if you did that, I'm going to fixate on blaster technology and I'm going to make these amazing blasters as small arms. You'd find, you spend extra money on it, but your guys actually now, your Marines and your infantry are kind of neat because you've got really good small arms compared to if you just rolled up in tech. Whatever. Peter looks at this thing, and at the very early stages of this game, you can't really make cool ships. That all comes later. But he sees you can make a probe, which is about 1 point to make. And it can go out, and if it gets to another star system, it'll send something back and tell you, how many planets are, if there's any signals coming from it. Yeah, to squee. That's kind of how you explore the universe with robot probes. And he cozens up to me, the umpire, and says, okay, look, I'm making probes, but I can put extra bits in them, I presume. Just little, I say, well, not tons of things, but yeah, you can put stuff. Right, so like Voyager, this is a cultural emissary to stars. Now, the first thing is these don't go on a straight path. They're going to be coming zigzagging to get to these places. So, yes, it will take longer. I'm perfectly willing, because that's not the point. The journey's a thing. And it's not really recording the journey. And so these things, they have they had these little messengers that they would send back from the probe when they found things. So that goes, and that's the thing that's got the navigational information on it. The main probe does not at all. Nothing to tell you where this thing came from. It's all on the bit that comes back home. Yes, look, I don't see why you can do that. Essentially, your entire computer memory and everything is in the module that gets ejected back home with all the data. So absolutely. But I want it to look like this is a mighty emissary. So we put things, which is our cultural representation, to welcome, come, our brothers of the stars, here, partake of our culture. So I want each one to have, it will have a long ivory back scratcher. Plastic, fake. It will have a small noddy dog. It'll have a pair of sock puppets. I want the genetic readout of some kind of hideous bacteria that clings to an underground volcanic vent. We'll also put in a gramophone record, a wax cylinder gramophone record, I think, upon which are recorded random animal sounds. Moo, 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 squeak, 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 bam, bam, bam. Let them figure out that one. And as this thing cruises through the universe, it's going to broadcast its message to the stars. It says, oh, okay, yes. And here is the message. Grandmother has shot the dog. I have a plate of boiled crab. Grandmother has shot the dog. I have a plate of boiled crab. These things are just drifting through the universe, broadcasting this, to the great brotherhood of the stars. And so essentially what happened is people would find these things, these 1 point probes that he's made. You could research stuff. Okay, so you can put money in to try and figure out, where's this from, what sort of tech it's from. but the more money you put in, the more of a dice roll you got. So people would put like 5, 10, 15 production points into doing a dice roll to figure out how this worked. And as the umpire, I'm actually rolling in secret. Oh, okay. All right, so what star system is from? Well, you haven't been able to figure out what system it's come from. However, the course it came in, it lays back over this one, this one, this one. Oh, it could be one of those. All right. What have you got? And it's like, well, you've managed to decipher, this genetics, some kind of really high heat, high intensity sulfide organism. Oh, okay, right. Oh, but what are the meanings of the other cultural artifacts we found? Possibly religious, you're not sure, So, oh, all right. Well, next turn we'll do more research and they spend more money. This was basically Peter's idea for draining the economies out of other people. He figured if he could spend 1 point and get people to spend 30 or 40 points in research fees, and if he could do this for hundreds of different civilizations everywhere, essentially he's just draining people's production budgets out of them for very little, having a bit of fun. A very strange chap. He was also, we were playing space opera, and he was the umpire. And a friend is a cephalophod, a squid, and it's a starting party. We're all going to stay in a hotel while we're chasing down some leads in the city, and we didn't have much money. So the squid guy just says, oh, look, I'm not paying for a hotel. Is there a park? And Peter says, oh, yes, there is. He says, oh, does it have like a fountain with a statue and all this sort of thing in it? He says, oh, yes, absolutely it does. He says, all right, the squid's just hopping in there to stay. No, not paying for a hotel. I'm just sleeping in there. Everyone else, I'll see, come down and find me in the morning. I'm just sleeping in here. So Peter rolls some dice and, all right. He says, right, well... As it gets towards nightfall, you've been sitting in there, quite happily. A policeman comes walking up to the side of the fountain and raps on the side of it with his nightstick and says, excuse me, sir, I'll have to ask you to move along. That's the 4th seagull you've eaten today. And the player says, seagulls? I thought they were children. It's like, you're not helping. So, alas, Peter got a acting job off in a far city and vanished from Melbourne Gamerdom and just never got in contact, which is a damn shame. A hilarious figure. He did, however, re-emerge as the narrator voice behind the Polywaffle ads. New Polywaffle with an extra creamy centre. So, I trust he's out there somewhere. Peter, if you're out there, I've still got your Stargate figures. All right, cheers.